Good morning, or I guess it could be good afternoon, depending on which side of the country you're on. It's Ron Brown, and I want to welcome you to APCUG's Virtual Technology Conference. This is track 1, and the topic today I'll be discussing is purchase considerations for a printer in 2021. Now, many of you know me from our weekly show, Tech for Seniors, or from the many other APCUG presentations I've given. But what you might not know is that Gail and I live in Comox, British Columbia. But we have a home and we winter in Mesa, Arizona. And I am the program director for Silvercom Computer and Technology Club at Silver Ridge Resort in Mesa, Arizona. Now, the reason that we go south for the winter is because it's hot. Well, hot is good for people, but not so good for printers. And in addition to being the program director at our computer club, I also work in the tech support department where I've been for the last 10 years. And because of the heat and inkjet printers, people buy an awful lot of printers. So my experience today in presenting this program for you is to relate some of my experiences over the past 10 years on problems with printers and giving you some guidance on how you may look at purchasing a new computer and what are the new printers available today. So hopefully you'll enjoy this program. I have planned for a time at the end where you'll be able to ask questions. So let's get on with the program. Now, when most of you are considering the purchase of a new printer, you're going to look at the cost per page. But I'm going to tell you that the cost per page is not important if you're a senior purchasing a printer. You're all going to say, "What? That doesn't make any sense." Well, let me explain why I made that decision. All right, there are two types of printers. The first type is an inkjet printer, and this basically squirts ink onto the paper. That's pretty simple. And the second type is a laser printer, and this has fine powder in the cartridge, and as the paper goes around the roll, it's basically the powder gets baked onto the paper. So those are the two types of printers we have. So the question I always get asked, and if I had $1 for every time I got this asked, I would be a wealthy person. The question that people always ask me is, I don't do much printing, so can you recommend an inexpensive inkjet printer? We're going to come back to that a little bit later, and I'm going to talk about that question. Now, your decision on which printer to buy should be based on the number of pages you print and also how often you use your printer. Now, let's look at the number of pages that you print. Now, a bundle of paper is called a ream. A ream is 500 sheets, and this is usually what you would buy. I find the cheapest place to buy these is at Walmart. Now, if you use one ream a year, you're probably fairly low volume printing. If you use one ream a month, you're fairly high volume. Anything in between is sort of between high and low. Now, a couple of tips I want to give you. If you are printing a lot, I want you to consider your workflow. And today, with our storage in the cloud, you really shouldn't have much in the way of printing needs. So if you are printing a lot, consider your workflow. Also, if you are purchasing paper for your inkjet printer, please ensure it is inkjet compatible. Inkjet compatible paper has a little more cotton in it, and it allows the ink to be absorbed quicker, and then it dries, so you don't get any smudging. If you get some really low quality photocopy paper, then it tends to smudge because the ink doesn't absorb very quickly. So always make sure on the side of your paper that it says that it is inkjet compatible. Now, do not use your printer for scanning or printing pictures. I've used a scanner for many, many years. In fact, I wore the carpet out twice in my office here, going back and forth to the scanner. I keep everything digitally and have scanned for many, many, many years. Your phone is a much better scanner. It does things better. It will OCR, it will store in the cloud, it will do everything you want so much better. And I have a video on scanning receipts with your phone that you can see, and the link is above, and you can watch that video. So if you take your 3 pages and you walk over to the scanner, I can take my phone and go click, 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 and they are scanned, they are OCR'd, and they're dropped in a file in Google Drive or OneDrive or Dropbox or wherever you want before you even get over to the scanner. It is so much better to scan whatever you want with your phone. Much better. Save some money. Don't get a scanner on your printer. So just think you're checking out of a hotel and the clerk asks you if you'd like a copy of your receipt. All you have to do is take the receipt, click. No need for a hard copy. Let's say you're at Five Guys having a burger and you want a copy of the receipt. Click. It's in your phone. You don't need to keep the physical receipt. When you do this, they're all automatically uploaded to whatever service you want. Much better than printing or keeping paper. You should leave the printing of pictures to the pros. Leave it to CVS, leave it to Walmart, or leave it to Costco. Costco has probably one of the best printing services that you could ask for. Let me give you an example. We had a couple visiting us last year in MESA. We went out for a photo shoot. We showed them some cactuses and showed them around MESA. And then on the way back to the airport, they mentioned to me, oh, by the way, Ron, could you send us some of those great pictures you just took? Just as they said that, I was driving by a CVS pharmacy. So I pulled into the CVS, and they said, what are you doing? We're going to be late for our airplane. And I said, just give me a second. And I looked on my phone, picked 5 pictures out, edited a few of them, said print. It said, where do you want to print? I said CVS, pharmacy, brought up a map. I chose the pharmacy we were at. Boom, I hit print. I left them in the car. I got out of the car. I walked into CVS. There's nobody in there at that particular time of day. The girl greeted me at the front door and said, hi, how can we help? And I said, I'm here to pick up my pictures. Just as I said that, girl at the back said, yep, they're coming up. She races up to the front. 5 pictures, about 15 cents a picture. I was out in the car and gone within 10 minutes. We made it to the airport and they made their trip as well. So leave the printing of pictures to the pros. So Google Photos has a contract with CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens. So right from the Google Photos app, you can print to any one of those pharmacies anywhere in the United States. Now, when you're driving around MESA, I can tell you every single corner has either a CVS, a Walgreens, or a Walmart. I don't know where they get all the pharmacists, but there's a lot of pharmacies, at least where I am. Now, don't forget, Costco probably has one of the best commercial printing services available for you. A lot of the professionals use the Costco services. In fact, all these pharmacies and Costco have their own apps that you can use to upload pictures into their services. But you know, Costco's always busy and there's a lot of people there. So as you're driving around, if you want some pictures, just drop into any one of those that I've mentioned and you can pick them up right while you wait. So let me give you another example. While I was in MESA, I was going through some of my old pictures, and I found a picture of a longtime friend of mine, Dave, and I having a drink. Now, Dave lives in Nebraska. I'm in MESA. So I thought, well, that'd be cool if I sent him the picture. So I went and printed it. I printed it to Fremont, Nebraska. Now, in Fremont, the only services they have there is a super center at a Walmart supercenter. So I hit the button, prints, boom, away it goes. So I phoned Dave and I said to Dave, hey, there was a great picture of you and I 20 years ago. You'd really like it. He says, oh, that's great. I said, yeah, it's at Walmart for you. So he says, oh, that's great. My wife's over at Walmart. So he phones his wife. And his wife is 2 aisles over from the photo center. She just walks over to the photo center, says, is there a picture here for Dave? Yep, there it is. So she opens it up and thinks, oh man, this is a great picture. So she goes and picks a frame up right while she's in the store. She comes home. They put the picture in the frame and hang it up. And it's now on the wall. And that's the picture you see there. Now the time from when I sent it to the time when they actually hung the picture up was 45 minutes. So how many of you would have taken the picture down to one of the stores to have it printed? You would have then drove over to find a picture frame. You would have put it in a picture frame. You would have then brought it home, wrapped it up. You would have then driven over to the post office, waited in line for half an hour, and had it mailed only to get there in about 5 days. I did it in 45 minutes. So let's leave the printing to the pros. Remember, if you print on your own, it can be expensive, it is time-consuming, and oftentimes it's poor quality because of the ink you use, which leads to fading. So if you've ever done an inkjet picture, like about 5 months later, it's going to be faded. Now that's not true for all inkjet printers. There are some printers that are specifically created to do printing of photographs. And you can get some very high quality ink that you can use that is fade resistant, and that can be combined with some special photographic paper, and the combination of the printer, the paper, and the ink can give you a really good picture. But that's expensive and it's time consuming. So my advice is leave the printing of the pictures to the pros. So what are the alternatives to printing your pictures? Let me explain what I do. Now, if you look at this slide, you'll see that I have a daughter in Adelaide. I also have a daughter in Beijing, China. And of course, I live on Vancouver Island in Comox, Canada. What do we all have in common? Well, we share our photographs in Google Photos to a shared Google Photos album called Grandchildren. And no matter who puts pictures in this shared album, these are all shared amongst the three of us. Also in Google Photos, you're able to actually select specifically which pictures you want by their names, and then through facial recognition, any of those individuals are automatically put in that album. So as the pictures are taken of our grandchildren in Australia, as the pictures are taken in China, and as I take any pictures, they are just added to that album, and that album is then displayed, in this case, to my favorite TCL TV. So the pictures are displayed on my TCL television, and in this case, this is in our kitchen. So if you do want a few prints each month to share with your friends or pass around, or maybe even use as postcards, Google Photos has a new program now where you get 10 premium prints for $6.99, and they send these out once a month. You can sign up for those at the Google Photos site. And each month you will have delivered 10 premium prints delivered right to your house, again for the $6.99. Again, you get to choose. Again, you get to confirm the choices you want. You predetermine what categories you'd like, and then their artificial intelligence picks the best pictures for you. And you have the final say if that is exactly the pictures you want before they're sent each month. So that's a way of getting a few pictures. If you want to stay digital and have a few pictures that you can pass around to your friends, that's a cool idea. That's a new feature that just started with Google Photos. The problem with seniors in printing. Well, seniors' printing requirements are often very low. Seniors don't print very much in general. This creates problems because inkjet printers really need to be used on a weekly basis. Seniors also travel away from their homes for prolonged times. Often they have a second home in Arizona and they go down for 6 months, which means the printers sit for 6 months of inactivity. And this is particularly bad for an inkjet printer. Seniors turn off or unplug their printers. And this is particularly a bad thing for an inkjet printer. An inkjet printer should remain plugged in and turned on because the printer goes through various maintenance cycles and will help keep the print head clean, and it prevents the ink from clogging into the print head. Doesn't use much power, so if you have an inkjet printer and you are going to travel away for a period of time, leave the printer on and leave it plugged in. This does create a problem because a lot of people who have park models in Mesa, Arizona and go home for the summer, of course, turn their power off. So this creates a huge problem and dilemma for people having inkjet printers in Arizona. And also, the other thing that happens is seniors often take the cartridges out. And they take them out and they might put them in a baggie, and I've seen people put apple in, or I've seen them put pieces of wet paper inside to try and keep the printer, the bottom of the printer cartridge damp. This is a bad thing to do. You should leave the printer cartridges in the printer. This protects the print head and creates a seal. The seal is between the printer cartridge and the print head, and that will help keep the printer head moist and not plug up. So leave the cartridges on an inkjet printer in the printer. Now, tips for your inkjet printer while you are away. As I've mentioned before, please leave it plugged in and turned on. Very little power is used. The printer will do a maintenance and self-clean schedule, and do not remove the printer cartridge. The cartridge seals the print head and prevents drying. And remember, a happy inkjet printer is one that gets used weekly. Now, the solution. If you don't need color, then a single color black laser printer is your best option. These are often inexpensive and can be purchased for around $100. The dry powder lasts forever, and they can sit for long times with non-use. And the toner cartridges are really very inexpensive. Now, if color is important, you may want to consider an inkjet printer. Now, there are 3 types of ink supply. We're going to discuss these. One is cartridges, one is called an eco tank, and the third way is by a subscription service. So let's look at these and find out which is best for you. All right, let's look at inkjet printers and cartridges. I'm sure most of you are concerned about the price of inkjet cartridges if you purchase a inkjet printer. A few things I can tell you about this. First of all, you'll generally find that the cheaper the printer, the more expensive the cartridges are. And this is simply because if you buy a $300 printer for $100, The difference, that $200, is simply the companies making the cartridges are going to make the cartridges more expensive to recapture their investment. So you'll generally find that the prices are more expensive for cheaper printers. The other thing that you should be concerned about is you should only have 2 cartridges in an inkjet printer. You should have a black cartridge and a color cartridge. Please stay away from printers that have 3 different colors in the color cartridges. You'll sometimes find these, and they can be extremely expensive to operate. So always make sure that they just have 2 cartridges in the printer. All right, let's talk about should you refill these? Should you buy remanufactured printer cartridges? What is the best approach? Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that when you hook your printer up to your computer, it's on the network. And the network is connected to the internet. So the printer companies are usually monitoring exactly what you're doing at that printer. They know how many they know how many pages you've printed, they know how many cartridges you put in and who made those cartridges. So you really are at the mercy of the printer companies. All right, so I'll tell you what I've done in the past. Many years ago, I decided I was going to fill my own cartridges, and I got the cartridge kit, which comes with a needle, a syringe, and you can actually try and put ink into cartridges. Well, I will tell you, I did that once. I had ink all over my office. I had ink on me. I ruined my shirt, and I got ink all over the printer. Did that once about 20 years ago and never done it since. Maybe you have had better success, but I haven't. All right. So then the second way is to refill the cartridges at a commercial place of business. And Costco is typically a common one that offers printer cartridge refill for inkjet printers. My experience has not been very good at that. Some people do this all the time. I've done it a few times, and the cartridges haven't worked. Now, Costco is very good, and of course will give you your money back, but it just hasn't worked out well for me. Then there are the remanufactured cartridges. Plenty of these are found on Amazon, and these will tend to be cheaper than purchasing the regular cartridges. I've had good success with this. I have a printer now, an inkjet printer, in which I use remanufactured cartridges in it, and they seem to work quite well. Now, the thing that you have to remember is that there is a computer chip in the printer, and this identifies the serial number of that specific printer. There's also a microchip in the inkjet cartridge. So it is so that the printer companies know exactly what cartridges you're putting into that printer. Some newer printers, there are significant compatibility issues. And if you take a remanufactured cartridge and you put it into the printer, it can trigger a complete shutdown of that printer. It will say that you're using an unauthorized cartridge. It will brick the printer. It'll void any warranty, and it will prevent you from returning the printer to where you purchased it. So you have to be careful with this. I can't tell you which printers there are. A lot of people use remanufactured cartridges in printers. Not a problem, but I have seen in the last couple of years a bit of a crackdown from printer companies on this. So you want to be careful with that. Also, I always recommend when you purchase an inkjet printer, particularly if you're buying it from Staples or you're buying it from a Best Buy, is to purchase the extended warranty. I never recommend extended warranties on anything, but this is one time where an extended warranty is cheap. The warranties on these printers are so cheap, and they will extend them for another 3 years. And if you have problems with your printer and you have problems with the print head getting plugged, it won't work. It's an easy way to get your money back. So I always recommend buying the extended warranty on printers. All right, let's look at the second way now. This is called an EcoTank printer. This is where you actually don't buy cartridges. You buy the printer and it comes with bottles of ink. And there are reservoirs in the printer that hold these bottles of ink. And these bottles of ink are included when you purchase the printer. These printers typically run between $300 and $400 and will hold enough ink that you could do quite a bit of printing for up to probably 2 years. These actually work quite well, and I have no problem with people using these. I think they probably in the long term work out a little bit better for you. The problem that I see with this, and the history that I've seen, is that if you don't use these printers on a regular basis, you still run into the problems with the print heads plugging up. And so if you go away for extended periods of time, this is really not a good printer for you, because now you've got a $400 printer that doesn't work rather than a $100 printer that doesn't work. But all the companies make these EcoTank printers. It gets away from the printer cartridges, and I think they actually work quite well depending on your situation. All right, the third way for getting ink for your inkjet printer is to use a subscription service, so you actually don't buy the cartridges. Now, I want to look at Hewlett-Packard's Instant Ink program, and I think this actually works quite well, and I would encourage you to have a look at this. The first thing is, when you hook your printer up, what it asks you is roughly how many pages do you print? And then what happens is you subscribe to this subscription service depending on how many pages you print, and we'll show you how this works in a moment. And then the company monitors, in this case HP monitors, how many pages you print, and when you get to your limit, they automatically send you a new cartridge. You then ship the old one back at no cost, and that takes care of recycling. So what do you get when it arrives? Well, you'll get ink cartridges delivered automatically, and that's before you run out, so you never have to run out. And the ink, shipping, and prepaid recycling envelope are all included. Now, these are the costs of the Canadian site, so you'll have to look, if you live in the United States, what the costs are. But let's just have a look here. If you print 15 pages a month, then that's around $1.25 a month that it would cost you. If you print 50 pages a month, it would be about $3.99. Now, I don't even print 50 pages a month, maybe combined between my wife and I, so that would be $4 a month. That'd be about $50 a year. The price of probably one cartridge, right? Then if you print about 100 pages, it's $5.95 a month, and so on and so forth. So you should have a look at this and really consider this. This can actually work quite well. Now, I know the green light is probably going on in your mind thinking, this sounds like a great deal. So I was over at my friend's before COVID, and who has this service, and he pulled out the bottom drawer of his desk, and he must have had 30 cartridges in there. And he said, yep, they just keep sending them free of charge, and I've got a ton of these. And I said, oh boy, can I take some home? And he said, no, doesn't work. All the cartridges they sent you are coded, and they will only work on your specific printer that you have the contract with. I know you guys were thinking about this, but no, it's not going to work. It will only work on the printer that you have the contract with. All right, I'd like to now look at the advantages of laser printers. First of all, they use a dry powder, so there is no minimum printing requirement. You can use remanufactured cartridges, which are often readily available for most models. They are very fast, and the price per page is usually lower than that of an inkjet. The initial cost has been reduced over the past few years, and we're going to explore some of the new models that I would recommend. The efficiency is high, and they're usually much faster. They certainly are quieter, and they have excellent print quality. How a laser printer works. Well, as you see at the top of this diagram, we have a page being fed in, and as it comes down, the laser shoots a beam up to a mirror, and this comes down onto a drum. This creates an electrostatic charge, and as the drum turns, it picks up the toner, which is a dry chemical, and bakes it onto the paper that then comes out into the tray. There's no ink required in a laser printer printing process. It all is done by dry powder. All right, let's look at the differences between inkjet cartridges and laser cartridges. So in the diagram here, you'll see along the bottom, we have two types of inkjet cartridges. Now, inkjet cartridges are basically reservoirs of ink. They're basically receptacles for ink, and on the bottom they have the print head. And you'll see two different types here. You'll see the narrow types of inkjet cartridges. In this case, these are you'll see the black and then the three colors. I've always recommended that when you're trying to find an inkjet printer, try to find one with a two cartridge system, one which is black and the other tricolors are in one cartridge. It's often a lot cheaper. You'll see then the larger, fatter inkjet cartridges. These are again, you'll peel off usually a cover off the bottom, and that's where the ink head is, and insert it into your printer. Now at the top, you'll see that we have laser cartridges. They look a little different than inkjet cartridges because they have to have the roller in there. They have to have that electrostatic roller. So they usually have to be as long as your printer is wide. In these cartridges, you'll find dry powder. Now there's usually a pull tab in which you'll pull a sealer out, and then you'll often shake them, or there's sometimes a slider that you slide back and forth just to mix up the dry powder. You then put the cartridge into your printer, and away you go. It lasts sort of forever. There's no printing requirement with it. Sometimes if you've left your printer for a very long time, we recommend taking the cartridge out, maybe shaking a little bit to loosen up the powder in there. But really, there's the laser cartridges last forever. All right, let me give you some tips on how to choose a laser printer. I'm going to give you two examples on how to select the best printer. The first example is one which I would not recommend, and the second is one that I would recommend. All right, so let's have a look at how we're going to do this. So the printer in this slide is made by a company called Lexmark. This is a current production model machine, and Lexmark makes very good printers. They don't make inkjet printers, they only make laserjet printers, and they make laserjet printers that are sold around the world. It is a global company, and they make very good printers. This is a printer for $237. It's a color laser printer. The specifications, it's the C3224DW color laser printer for $237 US. It's available on Amazon, but not available at Best Buy, and that's your first clue, okay? Now, you read the reviews of this printer, it's fine, but it's not sold very much in the United States. Let's look at the problems you're going to be associated with this printer. The first thing you're going to have to buy cartridges for it. I spent half an hour trying to find cartridges for this printer online. It is virtually impossible. I was able to find one example here of cartridges. This is where you got your 4 cartridges. The original price of these cartridges are around $500. This company had them on sale this week for $342.75. I was also able to find another company that had some generic cartridges, but they wanted you to buy 2 sets of cartridges at $500 a set, which would be $1,000 for cartridges for this. And in fact, if you read the reviews and people that are purchasing this, this is a common thread, is the expensive cartridges. So this is not a good choice for a laser printer. Your cost per page is going to be very, very high, and there are much better choices. So always look at the price of these cartridges before purchasing it. I saw this printer, and I think I'm right on this. This was sold at Costco in Canada earlier this spring. And I think Canadian, it was around $350, and I think Costco had it on sale for just under $300 before they discontinued it. Again, not a good choice. Be careful. Let's look at the next printer, which is a good deal, and I would recommend the next one. All right, this is a Hewlett-Packard color laser printer. This is one that I probably will purchase for myself this year, and it is my recommended choice. Now this is the Hewlett-Packard LaserJet MFP M18NW. You'll have a difficult time acquiring this because of COVID and everybody's working at home, and this is a real popular printer to purchase. It's available from Best Buy for $329. Amazing machine. It is a color laser printer. It has a control panel, an LCD control panel. It connects through to Wi-Fi through both bands. It's a dual band connection or a direct connection to your Ethernet. 150 page paper tray feed, and also works as a direct link to your smartphone. So this is a really, really good printer. And if we look at the cost of the toner cartridges, and I'm looking now at the generic cartridges, which are perfectly fine to use on this printer, a set of 4 of them are $99. So this is and there's lots of these cartridges that are made. Lots of different companies make these. Very easy to get cartridges for this printer. So this solves a lot of printing problems, and is certainly one of my recommendations for a laser printer for you. Okay, I'm going to introduce you now to the latest Hewlett-Packard laser printer. This is so exciting, and it's just come on the market, and is really going to change the way you think about printers. So let's have a look at this. This is the Never Stop 1001 NW, new concept in laser printing. There is no cartridge in this printer. You fill it up with dry powder. It's not color, it's only a single color, which of course is black and white. The cost of this printer is $249. Can you believe it? And it's still on sale, and it still is available. Crazy. Let's look at how this works. I'm going to show you a little video on how to fill up the tank reservoir in this printer with toner powder. pretty interesting video, wasn't it? Well, it even gets better. You can buy a pack of 2 of these refill cartridges for $27.99. That's about $14 for 2,500 pages. It's getting pretty cheap. That's an amazing printer for that price. Might give that one some thought. Now, sadly, tomorrow, February the 14th, all photo centers in Costco, in Canada, and the United States will close. They will still offer an online delivery service, but you will not have an in-store photo center anymore. They attribute this to the reduction in volume of people getting prints. Again, people are just not printing as much. The ability to personalize canvas, metal prints, create photos, greeting cards, calendars, and other gift services will still be available through online, and you can have those delivered. However, the other services, such as the home movie video transfer, the passport photo, custom framing, placking, ink cartridge refill will all be canceled. This will take effect tomorrow, and you have until March of 28 to pick up your pictures at the photo centers at Costco. So again, if you have printing strategically in mind with Costco, then you'll have to move to some of the other options we've discussed in this video. Now, I thought I should just update everybody on printing with a Chromebook. As you know, Chrome Cloud Print has gone away as of January this year. Now, what Cloud Print was it was Google's way of allowing Chromebooks to print on a multitude of different printers. When Chromebooks first came out, they were able to print on any printer through the Cloud Print service. Now Chromebooks are really mainstream computing. They've discontinued that service. Why I want to bring this up is I always used to talk about which printers were Chromebook compliant. And if you went and looked at a printer, you see on the side of the box a picture that I'm showing you here that says Google Cloud Print Ready. If that picture was on the side of the box, you knew that that printer was compliant with a Chromebook. Why I'm bringing this up now is because this is all going to change, because that labeling will go away because there is no such thing as Cloud Print anymore. I'm not sure how they're going to be labeling the printer boxes as Chromebook compliant. So that's something that you'll have to watch for this year as new printers come out. If you are looking at buying a printer for your Chromebook, my advice would be to get a Hewlett-Packard printer. Most Hewlett-Packard printers are Chromebook compliant. If you have an older HP printer and your Chromebook won't find it on your wireless network, a trick you can do is simply plug it in with a printer cable. If you take a printer cable and it's got the little square end that plugs into the printer, and then you take the other end, which is a USB connection, plug that into your Chromebook, then it will print. For many years now, Hewlett-Packard printers have had Chromebook print drivers embedded in them, and they will print directly from a Chromebook into your HP printer. So if you are having problems getting the printer on the network because maybe it's an older printer and it won't find your Chromebook, then just do a direct print through the printer cable and you should be okay. As many of you know, Gail and I live in Comox, British Columbia, but we have a home in Mesa, Arizona. The reason we go to Mesa is because it's hot. It's real hot. That's good for people, but bad for inkjet printers. Let me give you a tip. If you're having problems with your printer not working when you get back there, particularly if you're a seasonal visitor to Arizona, what I would recommend is next time you're going through Walmart, watch for sales. I find incredible buys on printers at Walmart. As I'm going through the Walmart store, oftentimes I see an $80 Hewlett-Packard printer on for $15 or $25. It's sort of a special that they put on, and these are great deals. My advice is to pick one of those printers up, leave it in your home, and you can use it next season. Don't open it up. Don't open the printer cartridges up. Just leave everything sealed up, and you should be good for the next season, and you'll probably have enough ink in those inkjet cartridges to last you for the whole season. Oh, that just makes one other point I want to make about that is make sure that there are inkjet cartridges in the box. I've seen some sales where the printers are on sale, but there are no inkjet cartridges in there. That's not such a good deal. Well, this is where we wrap it up, and I want to thank you for watching my video on printers in 2021. There are going to be a lot of printers coming out this year with some incredible features. I want everyone to remember that you can often get good reviews on YouTube. Just type in Printers 2021 in YouTube, do a YouTube search, and you'll find plenty of videos where companies have evaluated the best inkjet printers, laser printers, so on and so forth. So that's a way in which you can get up-to-date information on all the new printers that are going to come out this year. Well, it's Ron Brown with Silvercom Computer and Technology Club. I'd like you to thank you for watching my video, and thank you for coming to the Virtual Technology Conference run by APCUG. I've put my email link below, so you should be able to contact me directly if you have any questions. I'm going to stop the video now, and hopefully we have time for some question and answer.
Thanks, Ron, for that presentation. At this time, we will take some questions. You'll have to post those in the chat box. You will not be able to ask the presenter questions direct. But I do have a couple questions here. One is, can you speak to the differences in print quantity and archival life of documents made from cartridge type inkjet printers versus the tank type?
Sorry, the cartridge type
versus
ink?
The tank type.
Oh, no difference. It's just ink.
Okay.
So whether you use the tank or whether you use ink, it's the same, exactly the same.
The other question was, are you using a particular scan program on your phone?
No, I knew that was going to come up, and I should have put that in there. What I would recommend everybody do for their phone is, if you're using Google Drive, download the Google Drive app. If you use OneDrive, download the OneDrive app. You'll find within those apps, it is so easy to set up scanning pictures, and it'll all do it for you. So just download the whichever app you're using, and it's both available for iOS and Android as well.
And this is probably a related question, Ron. Is there a special app for scan OCR, and how does it get stored to the cloud?
And those apps will do that for you.
And this question, I think you covered some, but we'll go over it. If you have not already done so, please consider the steps some manufacturers take to block the use of third-party cartridges. Some makers put chips in both the printer and the cartridge that make it impossible for third-party cartridges. Some printer makers are more strict about it than others.
And that's very true, and it's more true now in the last couple of years than it has been in the past. And again, the HP does it. They all do it, but HP is really strict about that in some of their printers. And I can't tell you which printers they are, but I've seen situations where people put generic or remanufactured cartridge in, and boom, it bricks the printer, right, boom. As soon as you put that in there, it will brick the printer. You have to remember that HP and all the printer companies know, because those printers are online, they're in your network, they're connected to the internet, they all know exactly what's going on. So you can't pull the wool over their eyes. And if they don't want you to use remanufactured cartridges, it won't work. So that's a factor that you must consider when you're purchasing a printer.
And this is a comment, but it's a good comment. I have had good luck purchasing remanufactured ink and toner cartridges from www.inkform.com. Are you familiar with that company?
I'm not familiar with that one, but I would tell you there's probably over 100 companies alone that will do remanufactured products, and again, they come and go. I mean, a lot of these companies you'll see this year, and then they come and go. But I find that there's a couple that I like. Value Toner is one that I buy my cartridges from. It's so you have to. I just find the ones that I like, and they seem to work fine. But sometimes I go back the following year and I want to reorder the cartridge, and the company's not there anymore. So they come and they go.
What about date codes in HP and other printer cartridges?
Sorry, what was the question?
Date codes. I think what they're referring to, that's people that tend to find a bargain and they stockpile their cartridges only to find out later that the date is expired.
Yeah, don't buy expired cartridges. And also, you know, if you go to and you're buying a cartridge and you're going to a store, look at the expiry date on there, because if the expiry date is like 3 weeks from now, they shouldn't be selling those cartridges. So the point here is that all cartridges, particularly inkjet cartridges, doesn't make much difference on a laser cartridge, but on the inkjet cartridges, there's an expiry date, and you should know that, and you should look at that as part of your purchase consideration.
You mentioned something about laser chips. Video, you said something about updating chips.
No, there's a chip in your printer cartridge, and there's a chip in the printer, and that's how they identify what they are. You don't have to update anything. I don't think there's anything to do with that.
And also someone commented, please mention starter cartridges for laser printers.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. I bought I have a laser printer that I had for 3 years, and I'm still on the starter cartridges, you know, so it's a pretty good deal. So they you know, they have some depends on the company, depends on the cartridges, you know, how much toner powder they put in there really depends. But I will say that generally on most, it's not the whole issue about inkjet cartridges and chips and companies not wanting you to use that. You don't generally find that with laser printers, and you'll find that most of the laser printers I've ever had, it's the cartridges, the replacement toner cartridges for laser printers are readily available. There's no chips in them. There's no issues about, you know, not using generic cartridges or anything like that with laser cartridges. It's a much different situation.
Well, this is a comment and a question. I have Brother laser printers. They work great. Any info on the latest Brother printers?
No, I have a Brother laser printer as well, and the one of the nice things about Brother laser printers is the wide variety and of remanufactured cartridges that you can get, and they're cheap. They're really cheap, and there's lots of them. So I like my Brother laser printer. You know, they have a whole line of printers that are out. I haven't actually looked at the specific ones of Brother this year, but I like Brother. I don't see any problem with that, particularly their laser printers. Now, I will tell you though, that one that I showed you of HP that in my video, I really like that one, and I think that's going to be my next HP laser printer. That's a really great machine. So that's a good option.
Can you compare print quality of inkjet and laser printers? I guess what are your thoughts? What's your preferences?
Well, an inkjet printer gives you better quality. It depends what you're printing, but you know, if you're printing an image, I mean, the inkjet printer will give you a higher resolution copy than a laser printer, unless you get a really expensive laser printer. So it depends on what you're printing. I mean, again, if you're printing something with graphics, you know, a color inkjet printer would give you a much better image than a laser printer, unless it was a very expensive laser printer. But you know, you're always going to get better quality with the inkjet.